Single Bound is a new podcast hosted by married couple Amy and Logan as they review single issues of comics. And if the title makes you think of Superman, you're not alone, as the Man of Steel is a regular topic of discussion. Listen and subscribe to Single Bound on Spotify and YouTube. Fat Moose Comics, established in 1982, is New Jersey's best and oldest comic book store. Moose has that rare old-school comic shop feel and camaraderie, yet also remains a welcoming space for new fans. Visit them in Whippany or reach out via the Fat Moose Comics Facebook page. In the 1950s, George Reeves embodied the Man of Steel in Superman's first television adaptation, from its gritty black and white beginnings to the kid-friendly color years. To this day, an entire generation reveres George as their Superman, while for others, the show remains an overlooked, underrated chapter in the character's history. On this podcast, we bring everyone together as we break down each episode of Adventures of Superman, examining it within the context of the series itself, as well as the larger Superman mythology. Welcome to another exciting episode in the Adventures of Superman. I'm your host, Anthony Desiato. Joining me to discuss Season 6, Episode 7, The Big Forget, is the host of It All Comes Back to Superman, Series 2, returning guest, Michael Bailey. Welcome back.
I almost didn't get here because I got hit with this weird mist, like when I got home from work, and I forgot that I was going to record, but I remembered. That's my terrible intro to this episode.
No, I love it, man. You're here for one of the last episodes of the series. We're about halfway through the final season. Yet another appearance by the eccentric Professor Pepperwinkle. Any overall thoughts, impressions, feelings about this character?
I can never really dislike this character or the other mad scientists that we've gotten in the show, mainly because they are the inspiration for Emil Hamilton. Professor Hamilton of my beloved era of Superman. So I have to say that a lot of Periwinkle's appeal is that the actor really is pretty much the one giving his all in this episode.
Yeah, I mean, he's not phoning it in. He's doing it. He's far from my favorite character, but for 6 seasons now, I've been complaining, why don't they have more recurring characters? They bring back so many actors in different roles. Why not just have more recurring characters? Well, they answered that here with this. Our most significant recurring character is Pepperwinkle. And I say to myself, yeah, maybe it's all right that we didn't get too many others.
I'm just... we joked in one of the season 5 episodes about a Superman Adventures of Superman 59 comic, and I joke like, what would you do? And I realized what I would do with this character. I would have a villain show up early in one of the story arcs, and it turns out that the bad guy is Professor Periwinkle.
Amazing.
And we'll call him Ruin.
You're now the second guest because your mutual guest, Daniel Sanchez, as well, if I'm not mistaken, keeps saying Periwinkle. It is Pepperwinkle, though.
You're right. I keep saying Periwinkle, but you're right. It is Pepperwinkle. I wonder why I keep saying Periwinkle.
Because if I'm not mistaken, is Periwinkle not it's a form of kryptonite, right? Isn't Periwinkle a thing? I did a whole segment on my other show about it, and I forgot.
Well, like I joke all the time, if you're going to ask, did this happen to Superman in the Silver Age? The answer is 95% yes.
Yeah, but so Pepperwinkle. So in this one, he creates an anti-memory vapor that falls into criminal hands. It aired on March 17th, 1958, written by Robert Leslie Bellum and Whitney Ellsworth, directed by Howard Bretherton. Our guest cast, Phil Teed once again as Professor Pepperwinkle, Herb Vigran as Muggsy Maples, and Billy Nelson as Knuckles. Overall, I found this to be a solid one. I enjoyed it for the most part. We'll get to it, but I feel like one of the standouts is Jimmy going undercover as the window washer. I feel like they probably could have made more of a meal out of that, but I enjoyed the setup for that. So I thought that was cool. I guess my biggest thought about this episode, and it kind of cuts both ways, is when we get to the climax, And I know I'm jumping ahead, but we get to the point where Clark is forced to reveal his secret identity to our whole group here. Not Henderson, but Perry, Lois, Jimmy, and Pepperwinkle. And given the setup here that we're dealing with an anti-memory vapor, as listeners can probably guess, the genie is put back in the bottle almost instantly. So, like I said, it cuts both ways. On the one hand, it was great to finally have a moment where he reveals himself, but it just kind of breaks my heart. It's like, if you're going to do that, and you have a plot device here that can erase 15 minutes worth of memories, why not go further with this and actually have a conversation between him and these other characters about the secret that he's been keeping? I just felt like there was so much more they could have done that I feel like would have been so satisfying for the audience. And I just felt like they left a lot on the table with that. But like, it was interesting just to even broach that subject at all. Like he's going to not even, because it's funny. We've had other episodes we've talked about where he's gotten really close, where he's like, okay, I guess I'm going to have to do this. And then something happens and he doesn't have to reveal that he's Superman. But this time, like, he actually goes that far. So I like that. But then I just wish we could have played that out more before everybody forgot.
So it made me think of two Lois and Clark moments. One where the Tempest episode where Lois finds out and then forgets at the end of the episode, which I thought was kind of a cop-out. But at least that kind of made a certain kind of sense. This is hands down far and away better than Clark telling her that somebody cloned him because he got shot in at the beginning of the episode.
Right. Yes.
So bridging between those two, this sits right in the middle of that, because as soon as he goes, "Oh, I'm going to do this," I'm like, "Okay, this is why they have this is why they do the memory thing." But it's funny how I agree with you, but on the other hand, it fits so perfectly with this era of Superman that he has that back door that I'm like, this is kind of charming in a way. Like just him sitting up, and the only thing that lets it down is that Perry does not sell the shock that he is apparently. Not John Hamilton's finest performance, but because you're right. I liked the play between him and Jimmy, with the door. Like, why didn't we, like, you've all this time you've been Clark and Superman, and him going, yeah, why didn't you ever notice? You're all reporters.
Yeah, or even if he had said something along the lines of, "You guys are going to forget, but I just wanted you to know how much I appreciate all of you. I'm sorry that I have to keep this secret." I know we're not going to get 10 minutes of this. I'm realistic about the limitations, but just something. That's the only thing. But yeah, overall, I thought this was a lot of fun. All right, well, let's go through our play-by-play. More will come up as we make our way through here. In our opening scene, Perry strikes a deal with Lois and Jimmy. If they can get a front-page story without Superman's intervention, he'll deliver on a long-promised $10 raise. And already I have to stop and make our recurring joke that surely Lois must want that raise so she can get that hat at long last, because that's kind of become a running bit on this podcast here. That's her what she's most fixated on, going back to an earlier episode. Perry insists on working the story with them, though they make him promise that they can do it their way. Also, not the first time we've had, in fact, if I'm not mistaken, one of the black and white episodes you joined me for, Perry White's Scoop, was it not the same sort of setup here, where it's like, you got to do this without Superman, I'm going to work it with you, right?
Yeah.
More or less.
There are so many things about that entire conversation that bother me, but still, that is one of them.
What else?
One, why aren't you giving your employees raises?
No, there's that.
These people earn their keep week after week. Two, you don't have that many other employees, judging by how we see the staff of the Daily Planet. Three, why are you stringing them along? Like, seriously, like, Perry White is sometimes the worst boss ever.
I know that, and that didn't feel in character, because Lois, she puts an amount of time on it, right? Was it years, 2 years, if I'm right, something like that?
Like, you haven't gotten a raise, like if I don't get a raise like once a year, and it's not much of a raise, but still, I'd be like, why am I still here? Like there are other, like this is the 1950s. There's probably 16 papers in Metropolis.
Yeah, no, very. Yeah, I agree. I don't know how well that actually tracked, but that's our setup here. Lois and Jimmy peel off. They plan to get the goods on gangster Muggsy Maples. At the same time, Knuckles reports to Muggsy that he gave a nosy reporter a pair of cement shoes. So we're establishing early on, right? Like these guys are tough customers and they don't take kindly to reporters investigating them. So the stakes are high in this one. Back at the
They murdered somebody.
Yeah,
so.
they've, which I have for the color episodes, we don't see it, but the fact that they even acknowledge that, I said, oh, okay, that's a little tougher than we've had of late.
Mm-hmm.
Back at the planet, Professor Pepperwinkle explains his latest invention to Clark, anti-memory vapor, which can make a person forget the last 15 minutes if inhaled. Clark declines to test it on himself. He would, you see, but he's afraid he might be immune and sends Pepperwinkle to the others instead. I love how Clark brushes past that so quickly, and Pepperwinkle is so absent-minded that he doesn't pick up on it. But just the fact that Clark's, I might be immune to it. Why?
Yeah, well, keep in mind, Pepperwinkle didn't even remember meeting Clark
Right.
at the beginning of the scene. So
Yeah. But
there's that.
despite Perry's protests, Lois plans to turn the vapor into a story, just like her one on Muggsy. Now, I've been referring to the book Flights of Fantasy by author Michael Hayde. And one of the things that's really cool about that is Michael went through all the original scripts. And so in his book, where applicable, he will include deleted or extended passages from the original scripts. I think it's here. I think it's this scene that was going to be extended where Lois and Jimmy want to follow this thread about the vapor and Perry says no. And so in the extended version of the scene that was written but not filmed, it's at this point, I believe it's at this point, where Perry says that Lois and Jimmy are more like his children than his employees. And he doesn't want anything to happen to them. He offers to simply give them the raise, but Lois insists on earning it. I wish we could have seen that because this Perry is so gruff and those moments of tenderness are few and far between. And I feel like that would have gone a long way. So yeah, it's a bummer that didn't make it to being filmed, but that was interesting. I just wanted to mention that.
Yeah. That would have been a Lane Smith Perry White thing. Definitely though.
Yes. Next, Jimmy arrives at Muggsy's office disguised as a nearly deaf window washer with a malfunctioning hearing aid. He overhears Muggsy and Knuckles discussing robbing the Acme Loan Company, but he gives himself away when he offers the correct street address. What'd you make of all this?
Genuinely funny moment.
Yeah.
Like this entire scene made the episode for me because Jack Larson's doing his comedy shtick. He's doing it really. He's got like the Walkman that was his hearing aid, and the near perfect patter of them going, okay, so here's our plan. It's actually on 14th Street. Yeah, thanks. Hey, wait a minute.
Yeah, it was like I said, my only complaint, I wanted even more of it. But yeah, that was great. It was reminiscent to me of I think it's the Superman Week episode where with the same actor, I believe, where Jimmy goes undercover as the telephone repairman. In that one as well, and he's like hitting the phone with his hammer, like stuff like that is great. And yeah, Jack Larson really excelled at that. So this was definitely a very fun setup here. To save himself, Jimmy produces the anti-memory vapor, planning to use it on the two criminals, but accidentally, of course, uses it on himself. Muggsy and Knuckles let him go and decide to use the vapor to commit their robbery, but find the canister empty. Muggsy calls Pepperwinkle, pretending to be a doctor who needs the vapor to help patients forget unwanted memories.
So this is the precursor to Eternal Sunshine of the Spotless Mind.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I mean, I can buy that Pepperwinkle would go along with this, right? This is an unwitting participant.
I actually am going to make a bold statement. These are some of the most competent criminals of the entire series.
Yeah, I would like, yeah, probably.
I'm just saying they have a plan. they actually are going to use the spray like it's genius. Like we're going to commit a crime, then spray everybody. They can't testify against us because they have no memory of what happened.
Yeah. No, it works. This might be nitpicky, but when Jimmy sprays himself and then he comes to, and he's like, "Who are you?" I wouldn't think like they feel like they know who Muggsy Maples is.
Yeah.
It's not like, oh, we've heard this underworld name, but we can't put a we can't put a face to the name. It's not that, but maybe he's just so disoriented. He's still gathering himself.
Yeah.
In Perry's office, they receive news of a brazen daylight robbery of $100,000 from the Acme Loan Company in which no one remembers anything. I don't know if this was time issue, budget issue, but yeah, we don't see we just skip right to the aftermath. That's fine. And it's at this point where Perry is quick to blame Jimmy. So I guess they're all aware of what Jimmy's plan had been and that he tried to use the vapor and all of that. Clark sneaks off, and then Superman springs into action. He searches Muggsy's office and finds a private dial-less phone and the empty canister of anti-memory vapor. He then flies to Pepperwinkle's lab, which is also empty, and he calls Henderson, who refuses to meet at Muggsy's place right away. You know why, Michael? Because we still had more episode to go. Yeah. That's why.
This is way too soon to have Henderson do what he did for the rest of the episode.
You know what's so funny to me, though? It's like they have Superman make the point to Bill that Muggsy's office is right around the corner from police headquarters. You could be there in 2 minutes. But Henderson says no. And so he's like, all right, I'll see you in a half hour. We're not given any reason why Bill can't meet right away. But it's just funny that they make the point, oh, it's so close. They could have just made it that it's across town. Like, it's okay, Bill, get there as fast as you can. But no.
Yeah, it reminds me of the first appearance of the Joker, where in the middle of the story, Bruce is like, yeah, we can't do anything right yet. And it's because we're only halfway through the story, so we can't do anything. It's just like, but when you point it out to the audience is going to notice.
Yeah. Well, what's funny too is, if I'm not mistaken, in that scene on the phone, we only hear and see Superman's side. We don't even hear Bill on the other end. Yet, Robert Shane is in the episode. We will see Henderson very shortly. If we had just seen or heard Henderson say, like, well, I'm wrapping up a case or like something like that, but it plays as him just being unwilling. But anyway, yeah, the episode has to keep going. What more do you want here? My love of the TV series Smallville is well documented, and there's one rewatch podcast that's always at the top of my queue. Zach Moore's Always Hold On to Smallville, which continues with more great Smallville and Superman talk now that their series rewatch has concluded. Listen wherever you get podcasts. If you have children and are looking for a family-friendly store, look no further than Aw Yeah Comics. Visit one of their 3 locations, Harrison, New York, Muncie, Indiana, or Skokie, Illinois, and check out awyeahcomics.com for more. Their name says exactly how they feel about it. Aw yeah. Ever wonder what would happen if a person who knew barely anything about comics decided to absorb hundreds of Superman stories? Robbo is that kind of person, and that's exactly what he's doing on a new show called This Podcast Will Never Die. Listen and subscribe today. Step into the refraction with Drunken Avenger #1, The Volunteer, an indie comic by Rick Reason that turns the tropes upside down. 4 men died in 9 seconds. John Stevens survived, but survival has a price. Follow @Drunken Avenger on social media for project updates and previews. All right. Lois, Perry, and Jimmy search Muggsy's office for evidence and are promptly busted by Muggsy and taken out to the country. Superman and Henderson convene at Muggsy's office a little bit later, and Superman hatches a plan to follow Henderson's voice along the phone line with his super hearing to the secret hideout. And he instructs Bill to just pick up the phone and start talking. He can count. What did you make of this setup here?
It's so ludicrous, it's funny. Because they commit to this counting bit. And they play it all the way through the rest of the episode.
Yeah, I mean, Bill's in the 700s by the time we get to the end of this episode.
And I hate to do this again, but I'm going to do another Lois and Clark comparison. This reminded me of the Irish Eyes Are Killing episode where he used the pager to find where Lois was.
Fair enough. Yeah. Yeah, it was, I mean, I didn't mind this, and I liked, we've talked about this. Anytime where we get to see Superman use his powers, generally, just generally in this show, but also to use them maybe in an unexpected or different way. And so the fact that he has this idea that, okay, I'm going to be able to hone in on this and trace it to what it's connected to. Because it's the idea is Superman correctly determines, like, why else would he have this private line that doesn't even have a dial on it? It must just go to his secret hideout. So yeah, it works, and it gives Bill something to do. Okay. Here's where I get annoyed with the episode. So Superman arrives at the country estate, and from outside, he hears Lois say to Perry, because Perry mentions Superman intervening. And Lois says, don't even say that. If Superman takes a hand in this, we'll never get this raise. Okay. What's wrong with her? Like, no, like legitimately. I know I've been complaining about her, but like, what is the matter with her?
Do you not see that we're about to die, Lois?
Yeah,
like, I think Perry's line should have been, Lois, look, one, why are you worried about this? But two, if we get out of this, you get the raise, no matter what happens. And then Superman gets to bust in. The only reason they did this was to have him come in as Clark.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean,
but yeah, Lois is very blasé, and like that's what she's worried about.
She must really want that goddamn hat. The only thing I can say in her defense maybe is that, I mean, she's been kidnapped close to 100 times now.
Yep.
That we've seen, and she always survives. So she probably couldn't care less at this point. Right? It's like she know in some way, shape, or form it'll work out. But yeah, I would have, funny. It's funny. As gruff as Perry can be, and as much as he's always yelling at them, this is an instance I wanted him to yell. I wanted him to be like, "What's the matter with you, Lois? Like, we're facing down death."
Man, I love your John Hamilton impersonation. It's great. It's spot on. It's like he's here with us.
I've tried to lead a good life. Keep my shoes polished and my nose clean. That's my favorite. That might be my favorite bit from him in the episode where Jimmy spills the pot of glue on his desk. I love that. I give money to the church. Care for my. That's great. Anyway, but yeah, she drove me crazy. It drove me crazy. And then also, it's like, I guess I'm a little bit more forgiving of this, but Superman goes along with this.
Yeah, he's. I guess he figures he's got it worked out. Like if something really bad goes down, like what happens, he'll save the day. But yeah, he looks a little too happy to play along and to go in as Clark.
All right, I'm gonna overthink this because that's what we do here. So, all right, how do I put this? The risk reward here from Superman's perspective, right? The reward is I play along as Clark. I get them out of this. They don't think Superman was involved. My friends get their raise. She can buy a beautiful new hat. She'll love it. All right. That's the reward. The risk is, I'm going to have to expose my secret identity. Now, my question is he thinking that, maybe the answer is just yes, and that's the end of this. Is he thinking that far ahead where he's like, well, shit, if I do have to reveal my identity, I'll just use that memory vapor on them and I'll erase their memory. Like, is he thinking that far ahead? Because otherwise, that's too big of a risk to take for our $10 raise for other people.
So I'm going to answer with another question. Anthony, at any point during this entire series, does anybody think that far ahead on anything they do?
Nope.
These are the most wall-eyed people on the face of the planet. It is literally, they are not even, they're playing Connect 4. They're not even playing checkers. They're much less chess, much less fourth dimensional chess.
I know. I had my, even as I was saying, I know, but all right. Well, anyway, he does play along and he switches to Clark. He knocks on the door and, of course, is taken with the others to the basement. So now we get to our final sequence here. Clark secretly breaks the door handle to the basement, then gets tied up to a chair with all the others. Muggsy fills the room with acid gas, but is shocked to find that he and Knuckles are trapped with everyone else when the door won't open. Now, at long last, Clark Kent reveals himself as Superman, breaking the rope and changing to Superman before them. Now, I feel like there's a little bit of a cheat here because we see him, he breaks the rope, he gets up, he takes off the hat and glasses. And then I think we cut to a reaction shot. Yeah. And then and he's Superman. We don't see him take the suit off or not that I would expect a super spin a la Lois and Clark or any of the other iterations, but if it's just, if ever there were a time to like give us a full on shirt like something, it felt like this would be it, but we don't get that. It's all right.
Yeah, it's literally like he walks off camera and they're all reacting to what they're seeing, and then he's Superman.
Exactly. Perry says he doesn't believe it. Lois is speechless. And Jimmy remarks that Mr. Kent was Superman all along. Superman karate chops the gangsters, blows away the gas, frees Jimmy, and helps Jimmy break down the door. Before Superman departs, he sets the memory canister on the chair and dispenses the vapor, hoping for the best. At last, he picks up the phone to find Henderson still counting and asks Bill to keep Superman's involvement out of it, which Henderson agrees. And lastly, back at the planet, the working theory is that Jimmy freed himself, overtook the gangsters, and broke down the door. After all, he was the only one untied. And Professor Pepperwinkle announces he cannot remember the formula to create more anti-memory vapor.
Cue the Star Trek music just after Scotty says, "Ain't no triple at all." I gotta say, I thought when I got to the end of this that I was gonna hate it. I didn't. There are things about this that make you pull your hair out, and now I will never be able to watch this show again without thinking that Lois is like the most scatterbrained human being on the face of the planet. Like, I think this is one of those things where Noelle Neal's position in Superman fandom is not as much about her portrayal as that she was just there. And that's nothing against her. And the fact that later on in life, she became such an ambassador and beloved. And, I've told the story before. When I was at Metropolis in 2008, we were all having breakfast and suddenly Noelle Neal comes into the room and talks with us for about 20 minutes. And it's just like, I see why people love this woman. It's not because of what her Lois was.
Yeah. And yeah, for the record, I mean, my gripes about this Lois, like I've said before, I mean, I don't know exactly where the line is between what she was choosing to do versus what she was being told to do. But, it's not meant to knock her personally. And I think ambassador is a perfect word. I think she very much was that. And yeah, I mean, I can't help but wonder what her Lois would have been like with different material, with season 1 material, for example. Yeah. I would be fascinated to see that. But yeah, just watching all of these episode after episode after episode, I just find myself increasingly frustrated with the character. And this was just another instance of that. But yeah, I mean, overall, I think this was a satisfying episode. I mean, really, my biggest complaints, I just wanted more. I wanted more of Undercover Jimmy, and I just wanted more to kind of play out once you had this brief sliver of time where the identity is revealed. Just a couple more beats. That's all.
And the thing about that, when I saw it happen, I'm like, this must have blown kids' minds back in like when it first aired, or when you were first getting into the show and this episode popped up. It's like, oh, he's actually revealing, because I think to a certain extent the identity is now one of those things that is so malleable in Superman fandom, because of just how the evolution of when certain people learn that identity and when it's revealed to the world, et cetera, et cetera. Like, to me, it's just now Tuesday, but at this point in time, that thing was like the Rubicon. You did not cross it. It was the secret and suddenly he's standing up. Now they have a cheat, but I actually think they earned it to a certain extent. But I agree with you. It would have been nice to have more of a conversation. Like, Why didn't you tell us? Why didn't you trust us? And, you know, him pointing to like 5 years of reasons of not to trust them with this information, but still.
Yeah, and no, I agree. Like about what a big deal this would be, because as we've talked about, I mean, this was not a show that used a lot of the devices that we would see in other Superman stories.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, yes, we had time travel with through the time barrier, but we didn't have episodes where Superman goes back in time to put the genie back in the bottle with his identity.
Yeah.
Right. We don't have magic. We don't have Mxyzptlk coming in and wreaking havoc and then, you know, putting everything as it was. So, you know, while we have had instances where he's about to reveal himself, we never get that far. So to actually cross that, I mean, that is a big deal, to the point where it's like, you know, in just I don't know, a month and a half or whatever, we're going to be getting to the series finale of the show, All That Glitters, an episode that sadly I don't think doesn't really function particularly well as the bow on the series. But I would argue if you're gonna pluck a different episode from season 6 to be the series finale, I think we're going to make a good case for the penultimate episode actually serving as a better series finale. But short of that, I would almost put something like this. Funny enough, All That Glitters is another Pepperwinkle episode. So if you just kind of flip them, like, that's kind of an intriguing note to go out on. I know none of this was meant to be the final episode and all that, but you know what I mean?
I think the one thing, now that we're having this little thought experiment, that I would have loved to have seen in this extension of them talking to him is Perry going, I've known all along.
Yes.
I figured it out really quick. It's why I've given you so much in terms of, like, you just walked right in off the street, but I knew you were Superman, and I knew that you would always, you know, that you were responsible. So blah, blah, blah. Like, I'm one of those people that is like, Jim Gordon knows that Bruce Wayne is Batman, and Perry White 100%, no matter the iteration, knows that Clark Kent is Superman.
I agree. No, I've always felt this. I'm in lockstep with you on both of those. I mean, I wish Perry had been the one who was silent in that scene instead of Lois. Because if, like, I mean, I agree with you. I would have loved to have gotten that line from Perry. I always knew. But short of that, if he had just been silent, you give me a little ambiguity there. It's like, oh, yeah, maybe he did know. It's crazy to me is if the one person you would want to comment on this is Lois.
Yep.
She's the one who says nothing. But yeah, I mean, overall a fun one. Before we give our rating, anything else about this that we didn't talk about that you wanted to?
No, like I said, I almost called him Periwinkle again. Now, Daniel and I are going to have a conversation about why we think this is Periwinkle. Though, if I'm going to be in company with somebody, Daniel's a good guy to be in company with.
There you go.
With about these things. So, it's one of those episodes that I can see people remembering specifically because of the identity reveal. Like that's the big, like, thing that I'd be interested to hear fans of the show who are a lot older than us, like, what was this like to see? Was it exciting? Were you disappointed, or were you glad that the genie was put back in the bottle?
Yeah, absolutely. All right. So on a scale of 1 to 5, Great Caesar's Ghost, how many are we giving this one?
I'm going to give this one a 4.5, because I genuinely, and it's all because of the end sequence, and it's mostly because of Jimmy with the hearing aid. That did a lot to, like, raise my estimation of this episode. That whole sequence and the comedic timing of the whole thing, knowing that they did, like, only 1 or 2 takes, they actually managed to nail that in the way I think it was supposed to be presented.
Right on. No, that's a solid score. I think for myself, I think I'm going to go with a 3 on this. A solid 3. So we're not vastly far apart. Yeah, I think a 3, in the color era, definitely I would say one of the stronger ones. I guess maybe I like it more for the ideas that it touches upon more so than the execution, where I still would have wanted a little bit more, but definitely a very solid episode. So a solid 3. That's a good score as far as I'm concerned. All right. Well, listen, I thank you very much. Look, this is a series wrap on Michael Bailey. You've joined me for a number of episodes over the course of the series. And of course, you have been on and will continue to be on, hopefully, my other show, Digging for Kryptonite. So not the last time that we'll be podcasting, but the last time on this show. So really, thank you so much for your participation and your support. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, I mean, this is one of the reasons why we got to know each other, is that I noticed on the artist formerly known as Twitter that you were doing the show. And I was just like, oh man, I can't wait for the Evil 3 episode. And you actually asked me on for that one. So it's just like, I appreciate being part of this journey with you. And I got to think that there's just something satisfying about getting to the end. But I appreciate that you've had me on for a number of these episodes. And thanks a lot.
No, of course. I will say, and I'm not blowing smoke here. I mean, I genuinely, I have had fun with all of the episodes that I've done, the recordings. But I would say, and I mean this sincerely, I feel like ours in particular, a lot of laughs. I feel like they are among the more laugh-filled recordings, which is great. It's a lot of fun, especially when we're contending with an episode that maybe is not our favorite. It's great to be able to still get enjoyment out of it in this way. So
yeah, because the thing that you run into on that is if you didn't enjoy it, is that what if your guest loved it and then suddenly there's contention in the episode?
yeah, there's that. Thank you, Michael. Thank you, audience. Make sure you keep tuning in. We're really in the final stretch here, so keep coming back. Until then, as always, remember, only Superman can do super things. This podcast is an affiliate of BCW Supplies. The next time you need to restock on comic book bags, boards, boxes, and more, be sure to use promo code FSP to save 10% on your order. That's FSP for Flat Squirrel Productions. It helps support the show too. Thank you. Another way to support the show and receive exclusive content, including the spin-off podcast Beyond Metropolis, is by becoming a member at patreon.com/Anthony Desiato. My sincere thanks to all patrons. Please subscribe, rate, and review today via your podcast platform of choice, and continue the conversation by joining us on social media. Flat Squirrel Podcasts is also home to Digging for Kryptonite, a Superman fan journey, a long-running weekly series mining Superman's vast mythology across time and media. Subscribe today. Another exciting episode is a Flat Squirrel production. Key art by Greg Schiegel and theme music by Dan Pritchard.